Okay, we're off to do the ring route. Now, we're gonna have to stop here a little and think about how we want the plane. What I want to do is have one side folded and one side open on the wing. Okay, I don't know if a Corsair could do that. I could only assume that you can. I don't see why you couldn't. And if you think it's historically inaccurate, then you could go pound sand. I don't care. Well, anyways, that's what we'll do, just for show purposes, or maybe they have one wing down so they get up into the cockpit to do some maintenance or something on it. But we'll be parked up in the field somewhere. Now here, okay, these are supposed to, I think, drop in like this. About here. So what I want to do is have the wing on the right side here, right here, folded up. This wing will be spread out. Okay, will be open. So that's important because we'll have to cut out this itty bitty piece here, right here. Okay, send it down for folded wing. So if we're going to fold the wing up, we have to remove this. Now there's several ways we could do this. We could take a X-Acto knife and score it down the lines right here, you know, and just keep scoring it until it comes off, right? Or we could just, you know, sand it down from here, or just do it the gorilla way, which I usually just end up doing, is just cut as close as possible, and you take the sander and just sand it out. Yeah, that took all about a minute, actually a minute and a half, but that little piece is gone, whereas the little piece was supposed to be here. So yeah, here. Okay, this little tab piece here, the other side of the wing is now gone and now flush with the shape of how the wing's going to fold up into it. So we also going to leave out the window down here. I'm going to have to mask it up first before I put it on and glue it on here. So I'm going to do the masking of the canopy and all the windows and stuff. A little later we will be using parafilm to do that. It's going to be the first time I'm going to be doing it, so I'm going to be doing it with you guys while you're watching. Okay, first thing we have to do is put this little piece into here, and it looks like it fits in this way. Okay, very odd way to do it, but I guess it'll work. Just kind of fills that in. I guess it's Tamiya's way to say, well, at this part, let's give them something to do. So we'll dry fit it into place like so. Like I said before, since there's glue here, I don't want to move around too much, and then we'll just let the Tamiya thin cement take care of the rest. There you go. Starts melting the plastic together, and voila. Let's do the other side. Now, obviously, as you can tell, I was trying to get everything on the sprue while I still had some cockpit green left into the brush of the last video. Obviously, we didn't catch them all, but that's alright. Now, while these are drying up here, let's go ahead and stick this in. This little bracket piece, I'm not quite sure what it does. It goes over the window, that I know. Go like this. And this will going to have to be cockpit green too as well. And so you just dab it in. Alright. Okay, while these parts are drying, it's pretty much dried now. One thing I want to go over though is if you noticed before in the other videos, especially with the cockpit, how I snipped out these things from the sprue, I always leave the stubble in there. In this case, if you look here, see, I did the same here, where so I left it here. However, I did set it down along this edge here because this edge is going to be up flush against the fuselage when I put it together, right? So it's strategic sanding here, and I'll tell you why I leave that little stubble there, and you'll see why later. Okay, and I also took out the stub here and sanded that down. Same on the other side of the wing, same thing. I left the stub here, okay, but sanded it down here and off the one here. Okay, the same with these. Now normally I would probably leave the stub on here. Now these are the vents, the wings, and up here, if you could see the marks, I actually have, let's see here, it's sanded down. Okay, cut and sanded down. Now normally I would leave it on. However, do you see this panel line right here? That's the reason why I clipped off. I do not want to do too much sanding there where the gaps meet. All right, and then you'll see it more clearly when I get to it. Same thing here. I cut off and sanded down the stubbles here. Okay, left the stubbles on here, both sides, but I went ahead and also snipped and sanded it down here, and I believe that was it. Oh, had one here because there was no joint, so I went ahead and sanded it down. It was right here on these ends. And I'll show you why I do that. I mentioned something about stirring sticks. I actually was looking around before I saw your post on SMA and after your post on YouTube about it. And then I saw earlier when I was looking at some of the models I was going to purchase from eBay, and I see what you're talking about, so I think I am going to pick up a couple of those because they seem like they will work just fine. You don't have to worry too much about it. But I still have the problem with the bottles still. I mean, if anyone out there knows a tip on how to keep the threads here clean and the cap clean, because sometimes these things just gunk up in the cap and the threads. That's when it becomes unbearable. I'm not entirely sure what these bracers are here for, but whatever. If anyone knows, post a comment. Alright, looks like I ran out of paint just in time. Alright, looks good. Okay, let's go ahead and put this together now. I believe this is where I read that some people are having problems with getting this mounted correctly. There's some fitting problems at this end. I don't know if this is the part where they're having fitting problems. It might be because this is being very difficult. Alright, it seems I'm not missing everything. You see, it matches here. It doesn't match here, but I guess if I put this in, it should match. No, it barely doesn't. Yeah, I think this is what people were talking about. I read on the forums that there's some fitting issues on here. Now this is quite awkward because with Tamiya models, they usually just fall into place. So let's go ahead and glue it in. This must be the place where I gotta watch out a bit. Oh, that's a lot of glue. Yeah, be careful there touching that area. So let's move away from that. Okay, looks semi alright here. Okay, here we go. You remember where I've talked about not cutting off the stubs of the sprues? Here, see how that's formed in there? Like two little sprues sticking up. Now all we have to do is when it's dried up, we just sand it down. And there's no real details there that you have to really worry about when doing that, so we should be good. It's also the reason why I actually did cut some of the stubs out in other areas, because I didn't want to sand that area if there are details on it, right? So again, strategic planning in modeling is always a good thing. Now none of these holes here seem to line up very well. Now I'm not going to really be able to tell what's going to happen until I get to it. So I might have to take a file to that just to straighten up the holes. And I believe that's where we put in the flaps. I guess that's what you call it. Now, if you noticed in these videos, I suck at at figuring out what the part names are on a plane. I just build them through plastic, and I really don't know the name of some of this stuff. Now I'm going to dry fit this part in just to see how it comes up, because it looks like I'm going to do some sanding. I want to do it before I actually glue this in. Now I want this stuff, these parts here, to go in perfectly, or at least close to perfect, right? So if you can see here, that seal, or that this part right here is a little off. Okay, the gap here between the fuselage and the wing root here. So I'm gonna do a light sanding, sand it down a little, make it flush there. Smooth it down a little, buff it up. Okay, even Steven there. Just go ahead and take down these stubs out. Wet it up a little. Buff it out a little. Okay. Sanded it down a little. Hopefully the seams will hold. Okay. Can't really tell, but when we get some, we'll do a check with some paint. The other side finished up. So nice and smooth down sections now. We'll know for sure when we run it through with Mr. Thinner. I'm going to go ahead and I said we don't need it on this side here. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and just run it through really quick. Looking good, so let's go ahead, and this is going to be a little tricky here. We'll put this in, dry fit it in, make sure it's perfect the way I want it. What we'll do is go ahead, now gotta be careful with the glue here, because we don't want too much just overspill. Just want enough to have it go into the joints. The thing is even though if it doesn't fit completely, we want as close fit as we can, because then we'll have the other stuff take care of it, like say Mr. Thinner 1500, depending on how big the gaps are. And you just want to get it close to match as possible, close as you can. Careful. Get that all in. Alright, good. Let's leave it alone. We don't want to move it any more than we need to. Okay, so here we go. This is if the plane is sitting down. Here is the propeller, folded wing up, perfect. This is where we snipped it, and folded wing, or non-folded wing straightened out that way. And I think that's it for the wing root. So we got all, worked out here. We'll go through the details a little and make sure all the gaps are matching later. But yeah, it looks good. Now the next thing we need to move on to is fuselage assembly. Woohoo!